The morning of January 19, 2008, the phones inside Société Générale's Paris headquarters started ringing before dawn. Nobody wanted to answer, because whoever answered would have to say it out loud, would have to confirm what the compliance team had found buried inside a web of fictitious accounts, forged authorizations, and phantom hedges. The number was 4.9 billion euros. Gone, evaporated, traded into nothing by a single man who sat at a desk in the suburbs of Paris and somehow became the most destructive individual trader in the history of modern banking. Not a CEO, not a board member, a junior derivatives trader named Jerome Kerviel, and the worst part, the bank had seen the warnings, every single one. They just never looked. Jerome Kerviel was born on January 11, 1977, in Pont-l'Abbé, a small coastal town in Brittany. His father was a blacksmith. His mother ran a hair salon. He was not the Goldman Sachs type. He did not summer in Cap d'Antibes. He studied finance at the University of Lyon and landed a back-office job at Société Générale in 2000, the kind of job where you process other people's trades, not make them. But Kerviel paid attention. For 5 years, he watched. He learned the system, not just how trades worked, but how the controls worked. Every check, every alert, every override. By 2005, he had transferred to the trading desk. Delta One, low-risk arbitrage, essentially matching European index futures against one another. Boring work, safe work, the kind of work nobody paid much attention to, which was exactly the problem. Kerviel began small. He placed unauthorized directional bets in late 2005, hiding them behind fake hedges, fictitious counter trades that made it look like his positions were balanced when they were not. He was right more often than he was wrong. In 2007, his unauthorized trades generated a profit of 1.4 billion euros. Not for himself, for the bank. Société Générale made money on trades it did not know existed, placed by a man it barely supervised. No one asked questions when the numbers looked good. They never do. By late 2007, the scale had become almost incomprehensible. Kerviel was not trading in millions anymore. He had accumulated positions totaling 50 billion euros, more than the entire market capitalization of Société Générale itself. He was betting the bank, literally. The account names he used were real people, colleagues, counterparties. He forged their authorization signatures. He created fictitious offsetting trades to pass internal audits. When compliance sent queries, he answered them convincingly, technically, with just enough detail to make the questioner feel satisfied and slightly embarrassed for asking. He had worked in the back office. He knew exactly what would and would not trigger a red flag. Between November 2007 and January 2008, global markets began to crack. The US subprime crisis was spreading. European index futures, the very instruments Kerviel had bet everything on, were beginning to fall. His positions were hemorrhaging, not in millions, in billions, every day. On January 18, 2008, a compliance officer at Eurex, the German derivatives exchange, sent Société Générale a routine query about an unusually large position in the name of a trader named Moussa Bakir. Bakir was a real person. He had never authorized the trade. The compliance team at SocGen pulled the thread, and the thread did not stop. Kerviel was called in on the evening of January 18th. The meeting lasted past midnight. He confessed almost immediately, not frantically, not with tears, calmly, methodically, like a man who had always known this day would come and had already decided how he would sit when it arrived. Société Générale's chairman, Daniel Bouton, was notified at 11 p.m. He spent the next several hours doing something that would later be called reckless by regulators across 3 countries. He decided to unwind all of Kerviel's positions immediately during a falling market. Over 3 days, January 21st through 23rd, 2008, the bank sold 50 billion euros in futures into a market already in free fall. Traders and analysts across Europe noticed the unusual sell pressure. Some would later say SocGen's panic liquidation made the January 2008 market crash significantly worse. The US Federal Reserve, observing the sudden plunge, made an emergency rate cut of 75 basis points on January 22nd, one of the largest emergency cuts in its history. They did not yet know about Kerviel. They thought it was the market. It was one man in a suburb of Paris who had started with nothing and built a bomb inside the world's financial system without anyone noticing until it detonated. The final loss from unwinding the positions, 4.9 billion euros in 3 days. Kerviel himself had made nothing. No hidden accounts in the Cayman Islands, no apartment in Monaco. He earned a salary of roughly 100,000 euros a year and had not stolen a single euro for personal use. He had done it, he said, because he wanted to be valued, because he wanted the bank to see him. They saw him now. French prosecutors moved quickly. Kerviel was taken into custody on January 26, 2008, at his apartment in Neuilly-sur-Seine. He was wearing jeans and a grey fleece. Not the suit you might expect. Just a man who looked like he had not slept in a week. The trial began in June 2010. Kerviel's defense argued that Société Générale had known, or should have known, and had looked the other way as long as the profits kept coming. That Kerviel was a product of a culture that rewarded risk-taking and asked no questions of its winners. The bank denied everything. On October 5, 2010, Kerviel was convicted of breach of trust, forgery, and unauthorized computer use. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to repay 4.9 billion euros to Société Générale. A number so absurd that even the judge seemed to understand it was symbolic. A man who earned 100,000 euros a year would need 49,000 years to pay it back. He served 5 months. The story did not end with the verdict. Kerviel spent years appealing, turning himself into a strange kind of folk hero in France, the small-town boy crushed by a system that used him, then discarded him. In 2016, a French court reduced his financial liability to 1 million euros, acknowledging that the bank bore significant responsibility for its own failures. Daniel Bouton resigned as chairman in May 2008. No criminal charges were ever brought against any Société Générale executive. No compliance officer was imprisoned. The bank paid a combined 4 million euros in fines to French and US regulators, a fraction of 1% of what Kerviel's trades had cost. Société Générale still exists. It still trades. It is still one of the largest banks in France. And Jérôme Kerviel, the blacksmith's son from Brittany, who was never supposed to be in the room, still owes them money. What haunts this story is not the number. It is the silence that surrounded it for 3 years, every alert that was reviewed and dismissed, every forged name that passed through the system unchallenged, every supervisor who saw something odd and decided it was probably fine. The most dangerous frauds are never committed in the dark. They are committed in plain sight, inside systems built by people who trusted the system more than they trusted their own eyes. Kerviel did not break the machine. He simply learned how it breathed and held his hand over its mouth.